All right, Algebra 1, looking at lesson 825 here today. Make sure you have the bell ringer done before you watch this. I'm going to show you the answers in just a second here. Okay, so have the bell ringer done. Here are the answers to the bell ringer. So this was just a review of finding exponential equations. So just remember, t-charts are your best friend. So make that t-chart, figure out what your multiplier is. In this case, it was 7. And you had to work backwards to find your y-intercept of 3. So your equation is y equals 3 times 7 to the x. All right, and then this next one, this one it gave you the point at 1 and the point at 3, so you had to skip 2 jumps. So that means when you divide 96 by 24, you get 4, but that's not your multiplier. You skipped 2 jumps, so you have to take the square root. So the square root of 4 is 2, so we're multiplying by 2 each time. So that was our multiplier, and then to work backwards to our y-intercept, it's 12. Okay, so your equation should be y equals 12 times 2 to the x. All right. Okay, so make sure you have those done. Awesome, awesome. Also make sure you guys are still turning in your homeworks. Get those done, getting those turned in. This is the last lesson for chapter 8. So Friday we're planning to review. I believe we're taking a team test, if I remember right. Okay, so we're reviewing, and then next week we're going to be starting chapter 9, and I have plans to have the chapter 8 test on Wednesday, so just be ready for chapter 8 Wednesday. And you can always look back on these videos to help you with chapter 8. Okay, here we go. So 825, we're learning something brand new here. It's called completing the square. And it's answering this question, how can I write it in graphing form? So if you remember, graphing form is when you have y equals ax minus h squared plus k. This is our graphing form. So that's what we're going to try to get to today. Okay, remember, the whole point of getting it in graphing form is so that we can find the vertex very easily. Okay, so take a look at number 98 here. Okay, I'm going to cover up the bottom problem. I have something written there. So take a look at number 98. It says use the zero product property to find the exact vertex of this quadratic. Okay, so the zero product property, remember, whenever you guys see this, if you see this on a test or on a team test or something, always think factor. Okay, so we need to factor and then set the factors equal to 0. Okay, so I want you guys to pause the video here, factor this so that we can find our two x-intercepts, and then the vertex is going to be the middle of those two x-intercepts. That'll be the x value anyways. Okay, so pause the video here, go ahead and factor this, and then when you're ready, go ahead and unpause it. It should take about a minute. Okay, so go ahead and pause it here. All right, guys, hopefully you realized this one, you can use the shortcut. So you can put a 1 in front and then just make your diamond. No need for the box on this because we have a 1 in front of our x squared. So 10 goes in the top, 8 goes in the bottom. And again, this is only when you're using the shortcut, guys, that you can just put this number up here because you're multiplying 1 times 10. If you're not using the shortcut, you have to multiply this number times that number. So just keep that in mind. If you're using the shortcut a lot, just be mindful of that. Okay, and you guys probably noticed two numbers that multiply to 10 and add to 8, you can't do that, can you? There are no two numbers that multiply to 10 and add up to 8. So this is not factorable. Okay, not factorable, if I can spell it right. Okay, not factorable. So what this means, if we can't factor this, we can't find our x-intercepts, we can't find the vertex. So this is kind of our motivation for today. How are we going to be able to find the vertex of this and be able to graph it? Okay, we can get our y-intercept pretty easily from this, but that still doesn't help us graph it. We need more information. Okay, so that's where completing the square comes into play. So on number 100, it's asking us, it's saying, what makes a square? So our goal for this lesson is to be able to create squares to get it into graphing form. So here's why. When you have graphing form, you have this piece right here. You have this x minus h squared. This is the square that we're trying to create or complete, okay? So our question here is asking what makes a square. What's one property that you guys know about a square? Okay, and you're probably all thinking it's 4 sides, 4 equal sides. So let's write that off to the side here. So 4 equal sides. Okay, so normally when we're factoring, we were making a rectangle. That's why we called it the generic rectangle, and we would make the box, we would make the diamond, and we would try to complete that rectangle. Today we're going to try to complete a square. So we need 4 equal sides. Okay, so 2 dimensions, we need 2 equal sides. So the book asks you to take that set of tiles and create it into a square. Now I wish I was there today. If you guys, I'll just do it for you up on my computer screen here. Like I said, I wish you guys, I wish I was there so I could do it with you, but we're just gonna do it on here to make it a little bit easier. So I got our tiles all pulled up here. If I can hold my computer screen up. Okay, so here's the tiles. We've got 1x squared, we've got 8 x's, and then we've got 10 ones. And we're gonna try to make this into a square. So the first step, we're gonna start by putting our x squared in the bottom left. And again, you guys are just watching here, okay? Just watching for this. And if I wanna make this a square, normally we would start putting our tiles down here like this, right? But if we want it to be a square, we want our length and width to be the same for it to be a square. So I can't just be putting tiles in wherever I want. If I add a tile in this dimension, the lengthwise, I need to also add a tile in this dimension, the widthwise, okay? And I'm just gonna keep doing that. So if I add another tile lengthwise, I'm gonna add another tile widthwise. That way I'm keeping it as a square. Okay, let's just keep doing that. I'm gonna add another one here, another one there, another one here, and another one there. So if you think about this, we have just created a square, right? So remember we started with 8 x tiles. So we split them half and half. So we did 4 here and 4 here. Okay, now let's fill in the rest with these ones here. So let's grab these, put these down here. Let's fill in everything we can. Okay, now we've created a problem here. We've made a square, but there is some missing tiles here, okay? So we're gonna address that here, but first I want you guys to go ahead and draw a picture of this in your notes in that empty space there. Okay, so draw a picture, and that's what I was covering up here. So go ahead and pause the video, and I'm gonna get my camera adjusted here. So you can go ahead and pause the video. Don't look at this part right here. I messed up there. I was getting ahead of myself when I was writing these down. So I want you guys to go ahead and just draw a picture of this in your notes. Okay, draw that in your notes. So pause the video here and draw that in your notes. Go ahead. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so once you have that drawn, now the whole point of this is we're trying to get it into graphing form so that it has this x minus h squared. So what we can do with this is we're rewriting this equation, right? We have the same tiles, except what ended up happening, we had these missing tiles here, and we had 6 missing tiles, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rewrite this. And again, I got ahead of myself, I was writing stuff, so ignore that. So we're gonna have y equals, and now instead of this, I'm going to write what we've just created here. We've created this square. So it's x plus 4 by x plus 4. So if we were to write that out, you don't have to write this. That's how we would write it, right? But you can actually write this as x plus 4 squared. And that's what we're going to write over here. Because when you take the same thing times itself, you're squaring it. So that's where the square comes from. Okay, so we have x plus 4 squared is what we've created. Now the problem is this and this are not equivalent to each other. Because what we've done with these tiles is we're missing 6 up here. So when we write this out, we are counting 6 extra tiles. That's too many. We have too many tiles that we've created here. So we need to take away 6 from this expression. Okay, we were missing 6 here, so we need to subtract 6. Okay, so let me explain that in another way. Essentially, we had a 4 by 4 of ones. That makes 16 ones, right? So that was 16 total. So if you want, you can write, 16 total here, if this helps you. Okay, but we only had 10 to begin with. So we only had 10. So 16 is too many. We need to get back down to 10. So that's why we're subtracting 6 on the outside here. Okay, so this is going to be our answer. Okay, we have written this problem in graphing form. Okay, so if you were to multiply this out, you would get, x squared plus 8x, and then you would have plus 16. You would subtract 6, and you would end up with the same expression here. So these two expressions are equivalent now. Okay, so down here it says, describe in your own words what we did in order to get around the missing piece of the square. So I want you guys to pause the video here. Again, try to think about what I was explaining here and write down in your own words what you did here. So pause the video, take a minute, ready, go. All right, so something I would maybe write here, if you didn't write anything, you could maybe write this. The square had 6 too many. It had 6 tiles too many. So to balance it, we subtracted 6. Okay, you could write something like that down, but whatever in your own words, you can write that. Okay, we had too many when we made our square. We had to take those away when we wrote it out. Okay, now obviously we don't want to draw this every time that we complete the square to write it in graphing form. So we're going to do these next 2 problems down here using the generic rectangle, or in this case, the generic square. Okay. Before we do that, let's finish this problem. It wanted us to find the exact vertex. Well, now we know the exact vertex, right? So the vertex of this problem is going to be, hopefully you know what it is. You can go ahead and write it if you know it. Take 10 seconds, go ahead and write it. Okay. Our x value is going to be the opposite of what's inside our parentheses, so it's positive 4. We are going to write negative 4 for our x value. Remember, x goes with x, but it's the opposite. And then our y value is just whatever's at the end here, so it's minus 6, so we're going to put a negative 6. Okay, and there's our vertex. So super helpful. Now you could easily graph your parabola following that pattern. Okay, if you graph that, you could plot it. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the generic rectangle. So we're going to do this, but now with a generic rectangle. Okay, let's do the first one together, and then I'll let you guys try this one. All right, so we've got x squared plus 6x plus 7, and we want to try to find the vertex. So if we're trying to find the vertex, we need to complete the square. So let's draw a box. Okay, so draw your little window, just like normal. Now, we got to be careful here. We're not factoring. Okay, when we're finding the vertex and it tells you to complete the square, you are not factoring. It's different. Okay, so if you notice, we still start with that x squared in the bottom left corner. So let's start with our x squared down here. Okay, and for now, all of these x squareds are going to be just have a 1 in front. Okay, so we're going to start with that x squared in the bottom left. Now, what we did is we took the middle term. We had 8. We need to make this into a square, so we got to split it evenly. So in this case, if we have 6, we're going to put some x's up here and some x's down here. But we want it to be a square, so we want it to be equal. So how many x's are we going to put up here, and how many are you going to put down there? Well, it's got to be 3 and 3. okay, to make it equal. So we had a total of 6 x's, so we split those equally, and now we have 3x here and 3x here, okay? All right, now this next step, we're going to fill in the number that we would get if it was 3 and 3 here. We're not going to put 7 there. Normally you would if you were factoring. We're not going to do that in this case. Okay, let's just write out what we would normally get. So if we write the sides, this would be x and x, and this would be 3 and 3 to multiply to 3x and to multiply to x squared here. Okay, it would be x plus 3 and x plus 3. That's our square, right? Now, if this was our square, 3 times 3 would give us 9. Okay, so now what I do is I look at this number and I think, do I have too many or do I have too little? Right? In this problem up here, we had too many. We had 16, but we only needed 10. We had too many, we had to subtract 6. We got the same thing going on here. Okay, we have 9, that's too many, we need 7. So on the outside of the box, I'm going to put a big -2 to remind me that I need to get back down to 7. Okay, so now you have completed the square. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite this. So using our box here, we've got y equals, let's look at our square that we have. We have x plus 3 times x plus 3, that's x plus 3 squared. Okay, you should always have the same thing on both sides when you're completing the square. So we have x plus 3 squared, and now that was too many, we had 9, we have to get down to 7, so we have to subtract 2. Sorry, that's a squared there, that's a 2, and then you have to -2. Now that is your answer. Okay, so you have taken this, you've completed the square, and now you can easily find the vertex. So your vertex would be opposite of +3 is -3, and then we have a -2. So there's our vertex. Okay, that's what you're using this for, is to find the vertex. Okay, so again, start by making your box, put x squared in the bottom left, then you have to split this middle term because you want it to be a square, you want it to be equal. So 3x and 3x is half of 6. Okay, we ended up with 9 because 3 times 3 is 9, and we had 7, so we got to go from 9 down to 7, so you subtract 2. Right, because normally you would write a 7 here. Okay, but we got to get down to 7, so you have to subtract 2. All right. Okay, I want you guys to try this one out. So start by making your box. So pause the video here. Take maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes, go ahead and complete the square on this one, and then we'll regroup and we'll go over it. Okay, so 2 minutes, pause the video, go. All right. Okay, let's go over it. So you've got x squared down in the bottom left. That stays the same. That step is just the same as factoring. Everything else is different. So now I've got these 4 x's here. I want to make a square. So I have to split those up. So I got to do 2 and 2 because half of 4 is 2. Okay, so 2x and 2x, that makes 4x. And now I have my square. Now you want to write the sides of your square. I would have x plus 2 times x plus 2. That's what I would put on the sides. Okay, and then I have 2 times 2. That would give me 4. Okay, now here's the part that was a little bit different than before. We had 4 here. That's not enough to get to 11, right? On this one, we had too many. We have 9. We wanted to get down to 7. Sorry if this is crooked. Okay, we had 9. We need to get down to 7. Here, we have 4. That's not enough to get up to 11. So we need to add 7. To go from 4 to 11, we have to add 7. So now this is our completed square. Okay, so let's write that off to the side. We would have y equals x plus 2 squared is our square. Okay, so x plus 2 squared, and then in order to get up to 11, we have to add 7 still. Okay. All right, so for this one, our vertex, let's just go ahead and write the vertex on each of these, because that's the whole point of completing the square, is to find your vertex. And again, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, hopefully you do. Our vertex is that point, that turning point on your parabola. That's the whole point of doing this. Okay, so those are your vertex. Okay, so our vertex here would be at -2 and +7. There's your vertex. Okay. All right. Let's get some practice. Okay, on the back we've got, I think there's 8 problems that we're going to practice completing the square. So let's take a look. All right, so here's the deal. To make this video not crazy super long, I'm only going to go over in depth these first 4 problems. Okay, these last 4 I'm not going to go over in depth. I'll still write the answers though. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead, try out this first one. Again, take 2 minutes. Okay, so pause the video, take 2 minutes, go ahead and complete the square, write this in graphing form, and then write the vertex. Okay, so pause the video, 2 minutes, maybe 3 if you need. Okay, go. All right, let's go ahead and go over it. So first step, make your box just like normal. Put your x squared where it goes. Okay, 10 x's. If I want to split that up equally, I'm going to have 5 and 5. 5x and 5x. Okay, so my square is going to be x plus 5 times x plus 5. It's just whatever these numbers are here and here. Okay, 5 times 5, the number that would go here is 25. Again, don't be writing the 34 there. You are writing whatever the number would be. Okay, so 25. Now I need to get up to 34. So that means I need to add some to get up to 34. So in this case, I need to add 9. Okay, so add 9 to 25, and that gives you 34. Now I've completed this, and I can write it out in graphing form. So I can say y equals, my square is x plus 5 squared. So x plus 5 squared. Make sure you're writing a square there, that little 2, because that's what makes it quadratic, is the x being squared. And then I needed that plus 9 to get up to 34. Okay, so I've rewritten this as this. Again, if you guys wanted to check, you could multiply this out and you would end up getting this. Okay, it's just essentially doing this in the forwards motion now. Okay, you would get the same thing. Okay, and our vertex, I'm just going to write v for vertex, is -5 and 9. Opposite of x is -5. Keep the 9 for your y value. There's your vertex. Okay. All right. Go ahead and move on to the next one. Pause the video. Take 2 minutes. Go ahead and complete the square on this one. Works the same for negatives, except make those numbers negative on the inside. Go. All right, here we go. So make your box. X squared goes in the bottom left. We've got a -4x. Okay, so we're going to put -2x and -2x would make our square. Okay, they got to be equal. Okay, just remember, if these two numbers are ever different, you've done something wrong. You're not factoring here, you're completing the square, so it's got to be the same. So x minus 2, that's our square. And now -2 times a -2, careful with this, negative times a negative makes a +4. You're multiplying here, you're not adding, multiplying. So -2 times -2 is +4. I need to get up to 6, so I need to add 2 more. Okay, so my answer in graphing form is y equals x minus 2 squared. That's the square. And then just plus 2. And there you go. Okay, and then the vertex is at 2, 2. So the opposite of -2 is +2. Keep the 2 for the y. There's your answer. Okay, so again, you could plot this. If you wanted to sketch this real quick, I can show you what this would look like. So just to show you the whole purpose of this, if you were to have an XY graph here, I know my vertex is at 2, 2, so I would go over 2, I would go up 2, put my vertex there, and now I would just follow the pattern of the parabolas. So go over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4, and I would run out of room here. Okay, but you kind of get the picture. Your parabola would look something like that. Okay, that's how easy it is to use graphing form. Okay, and I know it's positive, it's upward facing because this is a positive x squared. All right, that's the whole point. Okay, all right, 2 more that I'll go over in depth, and then these last ones I'll just give you the answers. Okay, but you need to show your work. So let's take a look at this one. Go ahead, make the box. This is a +5. Just do the exact same steps that we've been doing. Don't let that odd number throw you off. Okay, ready? Pause the video. Go ahead, 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, go. All right, so this one with an odd number might have stumped a few of you. Okay, if we put our x squared in the bottom left here, this 5x, I need to split it up equally between these 2 boxes. Now it feels wrong, but we're going to put a decimal number in here. If we take 5 divided by 2, that's going to be 2.5. And you can do that when you're completing the square. You can put a decimal in your box. Normally when you're factoring, you would never get a decimal in here, but when completing the square, it's okay. So we have x and 2.5, x and 2.5. Okay, so now the number that I would get here, if I take 2.5 times 2.5, multiply, you get 6.25. Okay, not 5 again, we're multiplying. Just remember you're multiplying. Okay, and now I have 6.25. I need to get down to 2. So I need to subtract. And again, if you're struggling with this part here, if I want to know how much I need to subtract to get down to 2, you can just subtract these 2 numbers. So you can take, in your calculator, take 6.25 minus 2, and I get 4.25. Okay, so that's how much I need to subtract from this to get down to 2. So minus 4.25. Okay, just subtract these 2 numbers, and that'll tell you how much to add or subtract. Okay, so I need to subtract that much. So now let's write our graphing form. So we have y equals x plus 2.5 squared, and I needed to subtract 4.25. Sorry, ran out of room there. Okay, minus 4.25. And then our vertex would be at negative 2.5 and negative 4.25. Okay, there's your answer. All right, last one we'll go over in depth. Go ahead and make your box. Complete your square. Go ahead. All right, hopefully you paused the video. Let's go over this one. Okay, check yourselves as we go over this. So we should have x squared in the bottom left here. The 6x, we need to split that equally. That's going to be 3x and 3x. So I have x plus 3 and x plus 3. They're both positive. Make sure you guys are watching the signs on these. Again, when it's negative, make sure you write negative on the outside and negative in your square. Okay, here it's positive, so just make sure you're being mindful of the signs. 3 times 3 is 9. I need to get to a negative 1. Okay, careful with this. It's a negative 1. First one that we've seen. So when we have 9, if I subtract 8, that would give me a positive 1. I don't want a positive 1, I want a negative 1. If I subtract 9, that would give me 0. If I subtract 10, that would give me that negative 1, right? So be careful with that. So I needed to subtract 10. 9 minus 10 gives you that negative 1. Again, just be careful with those negatives. Triple check yourself. If you need to, type it in your calculator, okay? So we've got our graphing form. We got y equals x plus 3 is our square. Okay, I think this is the coolest thing, by the way. I wish I was there to teach it to you guys. Okay, so we got x plus 3 squared, and then we have minus 10 on the outside. Okay, there we go. And our vertex, we're at negative 3, negative 10. There's our vertex. So opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. Keep the negative 10. There you go. Okay. All right, you guys have 4 more. Okay, what I want you to do, go ahead and try each of these. I'm not going to go over these in depth just to keep the video shorter. We're already at 30 minutes, so I don't want to waste too much time with that. So go ahead and try each of these and pause them in between each one. So go ahead and try this one, 2 minutes, and then we'll go over it. Okay, pause it. All right, guys, the answer you should have gotten on this one is y equals x minus 6 squared and then minus 40. Okay, x minus 6 squared and then minus 40. All right, okay. Go ahead and move on to the next one. Pause the video here, try this one out, and then we'll go over it. All right, so for this one, we should have y equals x plus 10 squared minus 1. Okay, there's your answer. That's a 1. I guess we should be writing a vertex on each of these, so the vertex here would be 6, negative 40. So 6, negative 40 on that first one. And then this one here should have been negative 10, negative 1 for your vertex. Whoops. For the vertex. Okay, there we go. All right, next one. Pause the video. Go ahead and try it out, and then we'll write the answer. All right, here we go. This one, a little bit trickier here. Because we didn't have this number here, again, if you're missing a number ever, you can just write in 0, right? Plus 0 at the end, and then just follow the exact same steps. Okay, so when you made your square, you should have had x minus 2 squared, and then that gave you a 4, so you had to get down to 0, so you had to subtract 4 to get down to 0. Okay, and now these two would be equivalent. And then the vertex, before I forget, would be 2 and then negative 4. Okay, all right, last one. I will say before you start this one, remember to factor out a GCF first. Okay, this is the first one that you see with a 2 in front of your x squared. All of these other ones have had a 1 in front of your x squared. Okay, so just factor out a 2 first. Okay, write what's left on the inside and then complete the square with this inside piece here. Okay, go ahead and do that. Pause the video. All right, here we go. So we've got 2. If you factor that out, you're left with x squared plus 4x plus 5. Now I want to complete the square with this to find my vertex. It still works the exact same way. Okay, so if we do that, we've got y equals 2. And then if you completed the square, I'm going to write this in brackets here. You would have x plus 2 squared, and then plus 1. Okay. And then normally you don't want to leave it like this. You'd want to write this out. So you'd write y equals 2, and then distribute your 2. So you'd have x plus 2 squared, and then plus 2. Okay. All right. Okay, there is your answer. And the vertex on this one, let me check really quick. I can't remember if we write the vertex as negative 2 and 1, or if we write it as negative 2 and 2. Let me just check. We're just gonna go to Desmos real quick and graph it. So if we had y equals 2x squared plus 8x plus 10. All right, let me just show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so if we just graph this last one, y equals 2x squared plus 8x plus 10, and we look at our graph, we can click on it here. Okay, our vertex is at negative 2, 2. Okay, I thought that was right, and I just had to double check. So we're at negative 2, 2. So That's why we always want to write it with this last one here. So instead of leaving it like this, we want to multiply that 2 out, okay, to get our vertex. Right, because that 2 is being taken into effect with our vertex. So our vertex here would be negative 2, 2. Okay, there you go. Sorry, the camera's moving around a lot. All right, guys, that was the last lesson for Chapter 8, so we'll be wrapping that up. We'll be doing either a review on Friday, tomorrow, or we will do a team test. Okay, I haven't decided yet. Okay, and I will be back on Monday. All right, so great job today. Keep working hard, keep practicing your homework. It'll all pay off. Okay.